computer. All right, so how many here? This is going to be interactive. That's the only way that I do things, because if it's only me speaking, then I have no idea of where you are in terms of understanding of this book. So how many of you here have actually read the book? Not listened to it, but actually read it? Just give me a thumbs up or comment in the chat. Just give me a yes if you've read it.
Yep, I've read it.
Awesome, awesome. And other than the people that have been in this group before or have been in the mastermind, how many of you have found the Andrew Carnegie formula for success? Just give me a thumbs up or a yes in the comment section. And if you haven't, just a no is good too. So you can see it. So listen to it, haven't read it. All right. Let me just open up my third screen here. All right. Let's see. Is it plugged in? Yes, it is. Bear with me for a second. A little technical difficulty here. Let's see, will it adjust? Yes, it did. All right, so let's put this over here. Okay, so, well, what happened there? Let's go to slideshow, begin from the beginning. Slideshow from beginning. Why isn't it doing that? It's giving me a hard time here. Let's see what's going on here. Oh, okay. All right, so the Think and Grow Rich study group, basically what we're going to do is we're going to compress the 13 chapters into 6 weeks. We're going to go into a deep dive, and we're going to get into some of the secrets that are in the book that you should be aware of and be practicing. The most important thing that you can do is read it. You can get a PDF copy of it for free online. Just Google Think and Grow Rich PDF. You'll find tons of them. At the end of this, I'll show you how you can get what I consider to be one of the best copies of Think and Grow Rich in a PDF format. So in 1937, Napoleon Hill wrote this book. It was an instant sellout, and consequently, it was a condensation of his first book written in 1927, which was Law of Success. And Law of Success is a huge volume, much bigger than Think and Grow Rich, but he condensed it down to 13 principles. There's really in total 17 principles for success. So the Think and Grow Rich is really just a condensation of it. So the main question that we have to understand is that the book is all about, what do you want? Okay, what do you really want? And most people have a poverty mentality. Unfortunately, society, for some reason, has programmed many of us to believe that having money is bad and it's terrible, but money is not the root of all evil. It's the love of money. But Napoleon Hill said that if you are not money conscious, then by default, you're automatically going to be poverty conscious. Does anybody know what he meant by that? You can chime in whenever you want.
Poverty needs no plan.
Poverty needs no plan. Why is that?
Because if you don't do anything to better yourself, then you're going to be in a poverty mindset.
Yeah. What does the media teach us about wealth? Look at what they report on. Are they reporting about successful
it's
people?
Bad. It's mean.
Yeah. Negative. So society in general puts a negative connotation on money, because a rich man can't go through the eye of a needle, like a camel can, that kind of misunderstanding. Because money is really just a representation of our labor.
Mm.
Because before we had money, and today we don't even have money, we have digital money, which is you put money, you never actually, most people don't even use cash anymore. So we really don't have money. We have debit cards and credit cards.
Mm.
But the reality is that money was just a way to make it easier to exchange. So if I was a farmer and I had sheep and you wanted to have some mutton or goat's milk, you would trade some corn or whatever you grew on your farm, and we would basically barter back and forth. But it's hard to determine value in barter. How many horses do I need to give you to be able to get a cow, or how many cows to get a wife back in the old days? So money was created because it's just an easier system for doing trading. Because it'd be kind of hard for me to lug 15 horses to, Publix to get some groceries tonight. So the main thing that you have to understand is that the first principle in the law of success is definiteness of purpose. When Napoleon Hill interviewed 500 of the wealthiest people in America at the turn of the century, what he realized is that these people were wealthy because they had decided to be wealthy. They didn't become wealthy by chance or inheritance. These are people like Andrew Carnegie, Rockefeller, Mellon, Morgan, Edison, people who had nothing, not even a grammar school education in most cases. Edison only went to the 3rd grade, yet he's one of the most prolific inventors in American history. So the first question you have to ask yourself is, what do you want? Now, these are some of the representations of wealth today. A beautiful home, a nice watch, a car, a boat, vacations. So what you should do is, if you have the ability to write things down, is just take a minute now and ask yourself, what do I really want? Where do I see myself in 3 to 5 years? Where do I want to live? What kind of car do I want to drive? What kind of a lifestyle do I want? And you have to become very clear as to what that is. Because if you do, I promise you that you will have it, because so many others have done it before you. It's not new. So one of the things that is part of the science, and one of the things that Napoleon Hill identified in Think and Grow Rich, was a principle that was not quoted as a principle in Law of Success, which was the mastermind principle. And what is the mastermind principle? The mastermind principle is really critical in achieving your success, because you need to associate with like-minded individuals, people that when you share your goals with them, they're not going to cast disbelief at you. They're going to believe what you do. The second thing is that in a mastermind, you're going to have access to specialized knowledge. There may be a guy who already is having success doing what you want to do and can give you some shortcuts. Or you may need legal advice and there might be an attorney in it, or you might want real estate advice and there'll be a realtor or a broker in there. The other thing is accountability. One of the most important elements for creating persistence in your life is having a method of staying accountable. Because these goals that you set for yourself, there's nobody holding you accountable. If you get up in the morning and decide to do it, that's great. But if you don't, nobody's going to care. And that's why many people go to their deathbed having never accomplished the things that they want in life. So it's really critical that you find a way to keep yourself accountable. And we'll discuss that more. So what is success? Well, Earl Nightingale said that success is the progressive realization of a worthwhile, predetermined personal goal. So success doesn't necessarily mean money, a car, or a job title. It means that you have set a goal and that you have predetermined the goal, and then you're consistently, progressively realizing it by taking action. So that's important to make that distinction, to understand success is not anything other than progressively going after what you want in life. So in this book, Napoleon Hill makes us a promise, and that promise is that there's a secret in this book. Does anybody know, other than people that have been in my mastermind or in this group before, that can share with us what is the secret formula in this book? Go ahead and shout it out if you know it. Say that again?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
What is this secret? I've only participated in the mastermind. I'm sorry, I got noisy people here. Once before, but what I found the secret is it's the alignment of your mind, like setting the intention through the definite chief aim statement, getting that passionate, the combination with the passion and the excitement of what you want to do, that fire. And then the last thing I remember him talking about is also having that sexual energy, which is that life force, creative energy, infusing it. And like those three things, based upon the things I remember from studying him, were key in bringing forth what it is you wanted to have.
Okay, great. Anybody else have a different idea or something else to contribute?
The 6 steps.
Okay. You've been in the group before, you discovered that yourself.
No, I've been in the group before, but I discovered it long before that.
Okay, anybody else? Come on, one more. Anybody?
Having the desire.
Mm-hmm. Sure, chapter 1, right? Desire.
Learn how to think, not what to think.
Huh?
Learn how to think, not what to think.
How to think, not what to think?
Learn how to think, not what to think.
Okay. All right. So let's find out what you guys and gals have shared and find out what the real secret is in the book, because there's really, you could say there's a lot of secrets. But the one that Napoleon Hill spoke about is the Andrew Carnegie formula for success. That's the secret he speaks about. So he tells us in every chapter of this book, mention has been made of the money-making secret, which has made fortunes for more than 500 exceedingly wealthy men whom I have carefully analyzed over a long period of years. The secret was brought to my attention by Andrew Carnegie more than a quarter of a century ago. When he saw that I had he tossed that idea to him, and when he had grasped it, he asked him if he was willing to spend 20 years or more taking that secret to the world and also determining if other people had used the same secret. This book does contain the secret, and it has been applied to thousands of people. It was Mr. Carnegie's idea that the magic formula, see, these are all clues, which gave him a stupendous fortune ought to be placed within reach of people who do not have time to investigate how men make money. Carnegie believed that the formula should be taught in all public schools and colleges, and expressed the opinion that if it were properly taught, it would so revolutionize the entire educational system that the time spent in school could be reduced to less than half. So that's a pretty big promise. So let's see, what is the secret formula? If you're ready to put it into use, you will recognize this secret at least once in every chapter. I wish I might feel privileged to tell you how you will know if you're ready, but that would deprive you of much of the benefit you'll receive when you make the discovery on your own. Now, here is how I found the secret when I first read this book at age 22. While this book was being written, my own son, who was then finishing the last year of his college work, picked up the manuscript of chapter 2, read it, and discovered the secret for himself. Does anybody here know which is chapter 2?
Chapter 2 is desire.
Yeah, desire. So what he's telling you is that his son found the secret right in the chapter on desire and used it. He used the information so effectively that he went directly into a responsible position at a beginning salary greater than the average man earns. Now, this is his son who was born with no ears, right? Now, his story has been briefly described in chapter 2, and the story of my son's discovery and use of the Carnegie formula may prove to be the oasis in the desert of lost hope for which you have been searching. So a couple of things that you need to know about the formula. And that is mentioned earlier, later on in the chapter on desire. But one of the things that I want you to understand is that, well, let me get back to that. So essentially, here's what Napoleon Hill discovered. He discovered that individuals are basically programmed from the age of 0 to about 7. And at that age, you know, if you were born in China and you came here after you were 7 years old, you'd probably speak Chinese very well. If at 3 years old, I took you out of China and brought you to Texas, you'd probably speak both Chinese and English with a Texan accent. If I took you to Spain, you'd probably speak Spanish, Chinese, and English. So during that period of time, from age 0 to 7, we're just a little tape recorder, a little sponge. And basically anything that we hear gets programmed into our subconscious mind. So what happens is most of the things that we hear, though, are not positive. Most of the things that we hear are negative. So you have all these negative conditioning coming in, and we make the example that the average mind resembles a bucket sitting beneath a dripping faucet. The dripping faucet represents negative thoughts that slowly yet surely fill the bucket. Now, those negative thoughts come from your family, mother, father, sister, brother, aunts, uncles, television, radio, social media today. We are being programmed all the time. And the problem is that even if we're aware of it, we can't resist it. Does anybody remember 2 all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, tomato on a sesame seed bun? Does anybody remember that?
Yeah, but there's no tomato.
Absolutely.
No tomato? Okay, you're right. There you go. See, you remember it
It's-
because a Big
It's
Mac.
2 all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun.
That's right.
And I've never had one.
And did you study?
I only
for
saw the
that?
commercials.
Did you
I only saw
study?
the commercials.
You stayed up late at night studying that, right?
That's commercials. You
Yeah,
just hear it. It goes in through
it's-
osmosis.
It's repetition. So even if you don't want to remember it, you do. How many people here can say these words with me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all that can afford it. Everybody remember that one? No?
Absolutely.
Of course.
If you can't afford it, you're really screwed in this country.
You can't say under God anymore, though.
They took that out. But see, when we were being programmed in school, it was under God.
Yeah.
Now it's under binary, right? Isn't that what it did now? All right. So anyway, so we think Crest is a toothpaste. We think Mustang is a horse, a car instead of a horse. These things happen. For me, I got programmed with, I want to be an Oscar Mayer wiener because that's what I truly want to be. Because if I was an Oscar Mayer wiener, everyone would be in love with me. And I didn't study it. I didn't pay attention to those commercials. They just played in the background while I was watching television shows or comedy shows or whatever I was watching. And it sunk in. And I'm sure there's others in there from old programming. So what happens is through repetition, this material gets programmed into our mind. So what happens is, if we look at this, the negative thoughts are the water dripping in your bucket. The positive thoughts are the things that you put into the bucket to replace the negatives. But most people don't do that. They think, oh, that's okay. I thought positively, but that's not how it works. Advertisers don't just randomly give you suggestions. They do scripts and they drip it into your brain consistently. And eventually you begin to believe that that's a good product or that you want to buy that service or whatever it might be. So the secret in the book has to do with this entire principle. Before the turn of the century, a French physician by the name of Emile Coué wanted to do an experiment, and he said, is it the suggestion of the doctor that makes the people get better, or is it the medication? So he opened up a clinic in Nice, France, where they had these springs that were healing. And people would go there that had gout and arthritis and cancer or whatever diseases were known at that time. And they participate in these therapeutic baths. And Dr. Coué had all his employees wear a doctor's smock, one of those white lab coats. And when they would see the patients, they would say, "Oh, Jay, you look so good. Your skin looks so radiant." And so they would drip positive suggestions to their patients every single day, telling them how much better they were getting. And then he came up with what is now a world famous affirmation, which is every day and in every way, I am getting better and better. And he would have the people repeat that every day, 20 times in the morning and 20 times at night. And sure enough, some people did get better. And from that experiment and that clinic, we came up with what today is called the placebo effect. Does anybody know what a placebo is?
It's a sugar pill.
Something to make you think. Yeah.
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 So today, if you're going to test medications, you have a control group. Usually have 2 or 3 control groups. One control group is actually taking the medication. The other one is just taking a sugar pill. And the third group could be a mixture of both. And what they look for is they look for the placebo effect to be less than 10%. But typically what happens is the placebo effect can go as high as 40 or 45%. That means that out of 100 people, as many as 45 out of the 100 will experience the same results as the people taking the medication. Isn't that amazing? How the mind can create in your mind the same effect as a real medication to help cure you. So every time they test a medication, they always put it up against a placebo group. So what Emile Coué suggested was that people can get better by suggesting that they are better and better. So if you want to test this, go tomorrow to work and look at one of your friends and go to them and go, "Hey, are you okay? Because you look a little, you look off today. Are you sick? Are you coming down with something?" Especially if you live up north, everybody will basically go for that one. So the key is to hold on one second. Let me just mute everybody. Okay. So the idea is that we want to know that the human mind is very capable of creating that placebo effect and making us get better. What people discovered after Emile Coué what they discovered after Emile Coué was that if you can program the mind to become healthy as a result of a suggestion, then could you program the mind to become wealthy by programming it with wealth suggestions? And that's what the secret is really about. So Napoleon Hill gives us in the chapter on desire the actual Andrew Carnegie formula for success. This is the secret that's in the book that he talks about. Now, that you could say, like Earl Nightingale said, the secret is we become what we think about. True, but the method to achieve that is in the formula. So what did Andrew Carnegie tell Mr. Hill? That in order to achieve success, in order to transmute any desire into its monetary equivalent, you must follow these 6 steps. 1, you must decide in your mind, you must fix your mind on the exact amount of money you desire. Why money? Because if you don't think about money, you will not have any. It works that way. So you must fix in your mind the exact amount of money you desire. And it's not enough to say, I want plenty of money. Now, today, You must, if you're in sales, you would say how many sales you want, how much money in commission dollars you want, how many people you're going to recruit. If you own an online business, it's how many videos are you going to create on YouTube? How many posts are you going to do on social media? That would all be part of the goal. Actually, it's the price, but we'll get into that. So you have to be definite as to the amount. Second, determine exactly what you intend to give. So there's no such thing as something for nothing. So what are you willing to give? Are you willing to work 7 days a week, 6 days a week, 20 hours a week, 40 hours a week? You must be clear as to what is the price that you're willing to pay. If you're in sales, how many people are you willing to go see to tell your story to? If you're in real estate, how many homes will you put offers on? Whatever area you're in, you must figure out specifically and exactly what it is that you have to do. So let me share with you something that's important here. The vehicle that you choose is very important. If you're working at Walmart, the odds of you achieving great financial success are very low. And I'm not talking about if you're an executive in Walmart. I'm talking about if you're working at Walmart as a cashier or in another of that kind of position. So the key to this is that you also must decide to look at other areas of making money. So there are 3 evergreen markets when you go to do something. Does anybody know what the 3 evergreen markets are?
Health and wellness, money and career, relationships.
Bingo, exactly. Yeah. Those are the 3 evergreen markets. So if you go to do something, make sure you're in one of those markets. Tony Robbins, what markets is he in?
I would say relationships.
Yeah. Is he in wealth?
He is also in wealth when the Money Master Game one, though.
He's definitely in wealth.
Yeah.
How about health and fitness?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because
He owns supplement companies. Anybody know the name of his supplement company?
Mm-mm.
Twin Labs. Big company.
Really?
Bought it out years ago. Yeah. He owns about 3 different health and wellness companies. So, and he also does part of Unleash the Power Within is 1 day where you spend talking about your body, eating healthy and so forth. So he's hitting all 3 markets: relationships, that's Date with Destiny, that's also part of UPW, life mastery, relationship mastery. He's in all 3 of the evergreen markets. Smart man. That's why he does over 2 billion per year. And as if we call him a motivational speaker, you could say that he produces more income than every other motivational speaker out there. He surpasses what Bob Proctor is basically trying to hit 100 million, or was before he passed away. 100 million. He said that his goal was 50 million in 2020. Zig Ziglar's gone. Jim Rohn passed away. Brendan Burchard, Maxwell, none of them are even close to Robbins' numbers. So he understood. And what was the first book that he read? Anybody know?
Think and Grow Rich.
You got it. At what age?
Isn't it like 18 or something? He had no high school diploma, no.
Yeah, he dropped out of high school.
commercial.
Yeah, he dropped out of high school because his mother was abusing him. And the first book that he actually promoted on an infomercial was Think and Grow Rich, him and Fran Tarkenton back in the day. So the third step is that you have to have a deadline. So I had a client of mine who was in the mastermind. He said, I want to travel to every country in the world. And he put that in his written statement. 5 years later, I said to him, how many countries have you visited? He said, none. I said, what would be the first country that you want to visit? He says, I want to go to Paris, France. I said, write it in your statement. Once he chose a country, the following year he went there. But as long as he said, I want to visit every country in the world, he didn't visit any. Does anybody know why?
It doesn't seem like it's specific enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's too general.
Yeah, too general. It's the same as if I said, I want to make a lot of money. The subconscious mind will take any instruction you give it, but it must be stated emotionally. It must be exact, and it must be repeated over and over again. What is the purpose of repetition? Does anybody know?
Auto-suggestion.
Yeah, but what is the purpose of it? What does it do within us?
It'll build your confidence up.
Yeah, it does build your confidence. What else?
Trains your subconscious.
Train-
Basically, it hypnotizes you.
Intensifies your desire.
Yep, it's all those. What repetition does is it creates belief.
Freaking kidding me?
That's why you believe that Crest is toothpaste. That's why you believe that Mustang is a car. And you believe that Tide is a detergent because of constant repetition. Have we seen politicians use repetition on us in the last 10 or 15 years?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it was a famous comedian. His name escapes me. He said, you know why they call it the American dream? Because the only way you're going to get it is if you stay sleeping. So
Mhm.
what happens if you begin to believe that? Will you continue to strive?
Well,
No. What's the difference between somebody who was born in America and somebody who immigrates from another country to America? Do you know the major difference between the two?
a lot of them come
Immigrants.
here for an American dream.
Bingo. They come here because they believe that America is the land of what?
Opportunity.
That's right. People that come from other countries believe that we are the land of opportunity, and the people that live here believe that there's no more opportunity. Isn't that interesting? I find that to be incredible because, and how did we as Americans get programmed to believe that? Well, you got a bunch of people trying to propagate that message, and you have to shut those messages out because there is opportunity here. You know, somebody was saying, oh, you know, it's a dream. And I say, yeah, well, that dream worked for Bezos. It worked for Gates. It worked for Damon John. It worked for Art Williams. It worked for Hubert Humphrey. It's worked for so many people. But if you believe that the dream is not viable, then you're never going to achieve it. There's a book written called The Luck Factor, and I'll save you the 279 pages. Do you know the major reason why some people are lucky and why other people aren't?
The lucky ones are the ones that worked for it.
Okay,
They believe it.
what'd you say?
They believe in it.
They believe
right.
it.
People who are lucky believe they are lucky. And guess what people that aren't lucky believe?
But they're not.
No, they're not lucky.
So one of the things that I did years ago is I put into my statement, I am the luckiest man in the world. Because do I care if I get $1 million by working hard for 40 years, or somebody walks up to me and hands me $1 million? Do I really care? Because that was asked of me once. And I said, I want to work for it. But my friend said to me, why do you care? If infinite intelligence, if the universe wants to put $1 million in your hands for pure luck, wouldn't you take it? I said, yeah, I guess I would. So I don't mind being lucky, because lucky means you're in the right place at the right time. And people could say, well, that's a byproduct of working, but sometimes you're just at the right place at the right time because of luck. You know, my car was recently hit while I was standing still. I didn't do anything. I was standing still. So that would be being at the wrong place at the wrong time, right? I wasn't driving it. I was just waiting to get into traffic, and some idiot gives me crashes the front of my car, $5,000 of damage. You know, fortunately, I'm lucky in that I have insurance, aren't I? But anyway, all right. So
You're lucky you weren't injured.
that is also very true. That's the first thing that I thought about, because I've had accidents where I almost didn't walk away. So that was one of the things. So fourth, create a plan for carrying out your desire and begin at once, whether you're ready or not to put this plan into action. Now, here's a major point. When you first write down your goal, your purpose, or your chief aim, using Napoleon Hill language, you're not going to know the plan to achieve your goal. Because if you already knew the plan, you'd already achieved the goal. Does everybody understand that? If you had a perfect plan, you would have already achieved the goal. So your plan is going to be faulty and it's not going to be perfect. But we create a plan, and then because of using the statement, which is what we refer to this as a DMPS or a statement, you begin to attract to yourself the ideas, the money, the people, whatever it is you need. Does everybody understand that? That's the law of attraction. So the law of attraction isn't going to necessarily bring you a car to your door, but it'll give you the ideas so that you can make the money so you can go buy the car. Now, I want to show you, everybody that's here who's not driving or running machinery, I'm going to have you do a little experiment with me so you can see the power of fixing your mind on a specific goal and doing it daily. Is everybody up for that? Real quick experiment. Say yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So here's what I'd like you all to do. I'd like you to take a moment now, and I'd like you to look around the room that you're in and look for anything in that room that's the color red. Okay.
I
only
know
red.
this.
Yep, only red, nothing else. Just notice what's red. Okay, so you might see a red pair of socks, you might see a red shirt, you might see some red in a curtain. Just red, 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 nothing but red. That's all you can see. So when everybody has that picture in their mind of red, just say yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Now, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to close your eyes tightly, no cheating. And I'd like you now to tell me what in that room is the color blue. Just blue, not red. What's blue?
My walls.
Okay,
Like
A
the,
blanket.
she's in that room a lot.
I am.
So if you can remember what other colors are there, it's because you have been in that room before. So what the purpose of the experiment is that you only will see what you focus on. So if instead of red, if I said focus on all the negatives in your life, what will happen?
That's all you're gonna see.
You're just going to
Just
see
see negative.
problems. Yeah, problems, negatives, right? Isn't that a lot of people in your lives?
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. So Zig Ziglar used to have an interesting thing he said. He said, share, go up, don't share go up goals, share give up goals. And his reasoning was that if I tell people that I'm going to lose 30 pounds, well, most people generally support that as a goal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to go, great. If I said I'm going to quit smoking, will everybody go, yeah, that's a good thing to do? Yes.
Yes.
If I
Yeah.
said I'm going to make $1 million, are they going to say, go at it? Or what are they going to tell me? Oh, you can't do that.
Yeah. How you think you're gonna do that?
Yeah, how are you going to do that? You don't have a college education. You don't have a master's degree. You don't have, money. You don't have connections. You follow?
Honestly.
That's why we want to focus on not sharing with other people what we put on our statement. Okay. So once we decide what our plan is going to be, the next step is to put it in the form of a written statement. Now, the way that Napoleon Hill puts it in the book is based on what we knew about the human mind in 1937, which wasn't a lot, but more than prior generations. Today, we know how the subconscious mind works. If you've ever had a dream or a nightmare and you woke up and you said, oh my God, I can't believe that, I almost drowned. And you're relieved because the dream seemed so real. But when you wake up, you realize that it was just a dream, right? Remember, you maybe if you have children, you've had children sometimes wake up. My grandson was in an automobile accident, and my son would tell me that for days after the accident, he would wake up in the middle of the night because he was afraid that, his mommy and him would die in the accident. And it took time for that to basically go away. But sometimes it doesn't go away because it's emotion that keeps that thought in your mind. See, our human brain is very hardwired to emotion. How many times do you have to burn your finger before you'll never put your finger in the fire again?
What?
Why?
It hurts.
Because it triggers pain.
Hmm.
And pain is a strong emotional and physical reaction. If you look back in your life, any memories that you have from childhood, I challenge you to think about them. And what you will find is that in most cases, there was a strong emotion attached to that memory. And that's why to this day, you can still remember that. And the things that you can't remember, there was no emotion to it. So that's how the human brain works. So let's move on a little bit here. So a buddy of mine, his name is Hubert Humphrey, learned about the 6 steps, or this, as he calls it, the 6 components of a great business plan. And him and Art Williams, who was his original mentor, shared this idea of the 6 steps with everybody in their company. And the results were pretty staggering, and I'll share with you what it is. So basically what he says is fix in your mind the exact amount of new associates, sales, promotions, income you desire. It's not enough to say, I want plenty of new associates. So this is giving you a different perspective as to what you can put in there. So it's not always just money. It can be new associates, sales, promotions, income, whatever it is that is significant that you want to establish or achieve. Determine what you intend to give. So in this case, he says, I will have at least 5 appointments this week. I will do 5 BOP, business opportunity meetings. Establish a deadline. And then he says, write it out in the form of written statement, and then read your statement aloud twice daily. Once before retiring at night and once when you wake up in the morning. Napoleon Hill says that you should put your written statement by your bedside. I have my written statement by my bedside. I have a copy of it here by my computer, and I have a copy hanging in my shower that's laminated. Now, I've memorized my statement because I've been doing this for over 30 years now. But what does seeing it trigger in my mind? It triggers, that's my goal, and not to forget to say it. And we'll go more into that. So what you have to also do is see yourself already in possession of the recruits, the sales, the promotions, the house, the car, whatever it is that you want. You must see yourself already having it. Now, some people say, well, Bert, it's impossible for me to see something that I don't have yet. And I'm going to tell you that in order to have it, in order to hold it in your hand, you must first hold it in your mind. The airplane was only an idea, and that's where Napoleon Hill said thoughts are things. The airplane was only an idea in the mind of many people, and it took Orville and Wilbur Wright to create the first sustainable flight. Does anybody know who told Wilbur and Orville Wright that this exact quote, if man was meant to fly, God would have given him wings? Does anybody know who said that to them?
I'm not 100% certain, Brett, but I think it was their dad.
It was exactly their father. Yeah. So imagine your father, who is a minister, a preacher, telling you that God says that you shouldn't fly. That's major, major, major stuff. So what the book is about is what Henry Ford said, that whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you are right. Napoleon Hill later on said that the formula, or part of the formula, is conceive of any plan, purpose, or desire, believe in that plan, purpose, or desire, and then achieve that plan, purpose, or desire. Can you accomplish something that you don't believe you can do? Evelyn?
Not if you don't believe it, no.
No. So no matter how hard I try, if I don't believe I can lose weight, am I going to lose weight? Maybe initially by using what? Willpower, right? So I force myself to drink that protein shake that tastes like chalk. But that ain't going to last long, and eventually I'll quit, or I eat chicken breasts every day for 9 years. eventually I'll quit because I haven't convinced myself that it's something that I should do. So the next step is, well, this is what Paul Meyer put together. Come on, go forward. So Paul Myers, at the age of 19, read Think and Grow Rich when he was younger, and he put together for himself 5 steps. And of those 6 steps that we just went over, the first 2 are exactly what Napoleon Hill said, and that is to crystallize your thinking, decide what specific goal you want to achieve. 2 is develop a plan for achieving your goal and a deadline for its attainment, right? So looking back at Napoleon Hill, what did he say? Fixing your mind how much you want, determine a plan, put a deadline on it, right? So the first 3 steps were exactly what Napoleon Hill told us. Paul used this to become very wealthy. He became a multimillionaire by the time he was 27 years old. So the key, and then he said that you must have a sincere desire. You must have supreme confidence in yourself. And the 5th step is you must have persistence, develop a dogged determination. So a lot of this is what Napoleon Hill talked about. And Paul was a very good friend of W. Clement Stone, and W. Clement Stone is the 3rd person who was, there's 3 people that were considered to be the most successful people that applied these principles. Does anybody know who those 3 people were? Anybody? Napoleon Hill said that the 3 people that used these principles with utmost success was, number 1, Andrew Carnegie, number 2, Henry Ford, and number 3, W. Clement Stone. So write down that name and Google W. Clement Stone, and you'll find out that he started in the insurance industry with a $100 investment. And before he passed away at age 100, he was worth billions. Anybody remember Chick-fil-A? Anybody ever go there? Well,
Yeah.
do you know that the owner of
Screw it,
that
Kathy.
franchise, yep, Mr. Cathy, also read Think and Grow Rich when he was 15 or 16 years old in high school, applied those principles, and basically became wealthy because he applied the 6 steps. So let's take a look at who else used these 6 steps to become successful. Anybody know this guy?
Bruce Lee.
Bruce Lee, right? And what did he call it? He called it his definite chief aim. In his library, one of the things that he had in there was Think and Grow Rich. He also read other books. There's about 5 great books that he read. As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. He also read The Subconscious Mind by Dr. John Murphy, all dealing with the subconscious mind. So he wrote this down in January of 1969. And at this time when he wrote this, he was in a hospital because he had just suffered a back injury and he was in a body cast. He couldn't move. They kept him in the hospital for 6 months because he had injured his back. In fact, the doctors told him that he could no longer practice gung fu because they were afraid that if he injured himself, he would no longer be able to walk. He'd be paralyzed for life. But now at this moment in life, what was going on? Bruce was only 28 years old. He had been in a couple of small television shows. He had just finished playing the role of Kato in The Green Hornet. The show only lasted 1 season and was canceled. And now he's in the hospital. His wife is pregnant with Linda, his daughter. And they just bought a home in Hollywood Hills. He's got a mortgage, he's got a baby on the way, and he's got no job, right? His only source of income was teaching gung fu, and that wasn't making millions, that was just a job. But he decides at that moment in time to write this statement down. And he says, I, Bruce Lee, will be the first highest paid Oriental superstar in the United States. In return, I will give the most exciting performances and render the best of quality in the capacity of an actor. Starting in 1980, originally it said 1970, but this was written, sorry, it does say 1970. Originally he had made that, he had to make it into a 1970. So in 1 year, I will achieve world fame. And from then onward till the end of 1980, 10 years forward, I will have in my possession $10 million. I will live the way I please and achieve inner harmony and happiness. And he signed it. Now, when Bruce Lee passed away, Linda, his wife, his daughter was Shannon. His wife, Lyndon, sold this at auction. Do you know how much this piece of paper sold for? Anybody?
100,000.
50,000 bucks, close. It was the most expensive thing that sold at auction that day. Does anybody know who bought this piece of paper? 3 individuals purchased it, who owned the business. Does anybody know who they were?
Stallone, Schwarzenegger, and what's his name? Die Hard guy.
Bruce
Uh,
Willis.
Bruce Willis.
And what restaurant did they own at that time?
That the Rock Cafe, the Hard Rock Cafe,
Planet Hollywood.
Planet Hollywood.
This piece of paper, the first time I saw this, was in the front door of the Planet Hollywood at Times Square, New York. This piece of paper was a replica of it, was put on the door of the entranceway to every single Planet Hollywood. Now, once you got inside, you'd see, stuff from The Predator, from Arnold Schwarzenegger's, the movies that these guys did. You'd see stuff from those movies. But recently, this sold for over $150,000. I made it one of my goals to actually purchase this piece of paper. I have a copy of this that I printed out and I laminated that I hang on my wall as a reminder. Now, did Bruce Lee hit his goal of making $10 million? He died in 1973.
I don't think he did he?
Does anybody know? So let's find out. Well, looky there. Yep. So by the time that after Bruce Lee's death, his net worth was equal to $10 million. Did he become the highest, what was it he said? He was the highest paid Oriental superstar in the United States. Did he achieve that goal? Anybody know?
Yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
have to say, yeah.
I would guess and
What
say,
movie,
yeah.
what movie made him an international phenom? Does anybody know? It was produced by Universal Studios. Anybody know?
Green Hornet.
Enter the Dragon.
Dragon, yeah.
I didn't imagine.
Yep, that was the film. And he was the star. He was the first Asian American. Where was Bruce Lee born? He was born in the United States, by the way. He was the first Asian American to be a lead actor in a major television production. Now, at one time, Bruce came up with this great idea. He was talking to James Coburn, who was one of his students, and he said, what would be great is instead of these cowboys going through the Wild Wild West with their guns, what if we had a kung fu master who went through the Wild West and he did good things by using his fists and his kicks? Does anybody remember that idea?
David Carradine. David
That's right.
Carradine, Grasshopper.
That's right. That was his idea. And guess what they did? They did not cast him as the lead. And he did not have a disclosure, a non-disclosure agreement signed by anybody. So they literally stole his idea and gave the role to David Carradine. And Bruce and the television show Kung Fu ran for like 6 or 7 years. Made David Carradine a household name. David Carradine was not Asian.
Why
Because
did Bruce Lee die so young?
They wouldn't cast Asian people as they wouldn't cast Asian people. I'm gonna have to unmute you guys. If you want to talk, you'll have to unmute yourselves. They didn't cast Asian people. So his net worth was $10 million. Now, Bruce studied extensively. He was a very intelligent man. And he said, don't speak negatively about yourself, even as a joke. Your body doesn't know the difference. Words are energy and cast spells. That's why it's called spelling. Change the way you speak about yourself and you can change your life. What you're not changing, you're also choosing. So let's take a look at some success stories. Anybody know Damon John?
Boo-boo.
Yeah.
Fubu, Shark Tank, right?
Yeah. Shark Tank.
So he shared the one lesson he learned from Think and Grow Rich. He said, when I was 16 years old, I read Think and Grow Rich. And what he did is he made a list of 10 goals, each with a deadline. And he does this to this day. And every morning he put them on a 3x5 card and he carries it in his pocket all day long. And when he gets up in the morning, he reads over his goals. And before he goes to bed at night, he reads over his goals as well. Now, he didn't put it in the form of a statement, but he made a list of the goals. And the idea is not necessarily the words. The words are powerful, but it's what is the goals. That's what you have to really sear into your mind. Pretty successful guy, multi-millionaire. Yeah. Anybody know this guy? This is Art Williams. Art Williams started a small company back in 1980 called A.L. Williams and Associates. He later sold that company to Chase Stanley. I forget, they went through so many names, but he sold it to Chase Manhattan Bank and their financial group. And that company is called Primerica. What was his net worth in 2006? 1.5 billion. By 2008, because of the hit that everybody took in 2008, he was only worth 1.4, but now he's up over $2 billion. Not bad. What did he do? Well, back in 1979, he wrote down that he found the book Think and Grow Rich, and he decided that he wanted to set a goal to have an income of $30,000 a year guaranteed for life so that he'd be beholden to nobody. And he just would focus on that every day. And when he began his company, he told everybody about Think and Grow Rich, and he made them all write out their statement. Now, if you remember earlier, I showed you this. This is from Hubert Humphrey, who worked for Art Williams, and he teaches the 6 steps to all the people in his organizations. Hubert Humphrey left A.L. Williams when they merged with Chase or got bought out, and formed his own company called World Marketing Alliance, which later on became World Financial Group, which is owned by Aegon, big insurance conglomerate. And he became a multi-millionaire in the process.
Wasn't he a basketball coach or a football coach or something like that?
High school football coach, making
That's what it was.
$13,000 a year. Not a lot of money. PE coaches don't make a lot of money. So he did PE and then he coached high school football. So he gave it up to basically give his family what he wanted. Anybody know Hubert Humphrey? I mentioned him earlier. Hubert Humphrey was one of the top leaders in A.L. Williams and Associates. He's the first man to break $1 million a month in personal income in that company. And when they merged with Chase, they changed the compensation plan. So Hubert Humphrey said, you know what? I'm out of here. Took 3 guys with him and started his own company, sold that company, World Marketing Alliance, 10 years later. So here's a little bit about him. He was the most valuable leader of the decade in 1987 with A.L. Williams. He was director of the A.L. Williams Corporation. He recruited over 1 million agents and created $1 million in sales and several $1 billion of wealth for clients. He started World Marketing Alliance in June of 2001. It was purchased by Aegon. And then he served as the CEO of that company until he basically bailed out. And now today he started another company called Hegemon Group. And recently he sold that to Integrity Group, who paid him a couple of $1 million for that. My buddy just got a deal with Integrity. They gave him $7 million and a guaranteed salary of $250,000 a year. Plus he still has shares in that company. Not a bad deal for 3 years of work. So a lot of this is having the right opportunity. So how are these people able to accomplish these incredible things? Well, the key is the statement. If they hadn't written down what they wanted, they would have never accomplished it. But that's not enough, because how many people set New Year's resolutions every year? How many? Anybody know? Anybody? Does anybody
Close to
here? Huh?
95%.
Yeah, so everybody does New Year's resolutions, right? It might be, lose weight, get a better job, save more money, get a new wife, get rid of the old wife, get a new husband, get rid of the old husband. Whatever it is, everybody's got a goal every year, right? And all 3 years, the same resolutions are the same. They fall into 3 categories. As I think it was Evelyn said, the 3 categories are relationships, health, and wealth. Every year, everybody's got a New Year's resolution that revolves around that. Those are the most popular resolutions. Make more money, get a new job, go back to school. Those are all related to wealth. So what Napoleon Hill discovered is what we mentioned earlier, and that is that even a lie repeated often enough becomes the truth. It doesn't matter what that lie is. Hermann Goebbels, Joseph Goebbels, the propaganda minister for Nazi Germany, said that tell a lie often enough, it becomes the truth. Make the lie big and it's more believable. So the bigger the lie, the more believable it is. But what will kill that process? Does anybody know? What will kill the process of the repetition? One of you's got to know, or even take a guess.
Dream Stealers?
Huh?
Does he stop repeating it?
Yeah, change the story.
Goebbels. I say Goebbels.
Well, I drank too much water and other things. So let's talk about this for a second. So let me give you an example from something totally different. If I want to be a good Christian, what are some of the things that I should do to become a good Christian? Should I read the Bible every day? Would that be a good start?
Yes, you would continue to pray every day.
I would read the Bible. I would pray. Who would I hang out with? Would I hang out with a bunch of thieves and disbelievers?
Hang out with other churchgoers.
So I would have a mastermind group of other people who also believe like I do. Right? What in church jargon, what are non-believers called? Skeptics, heathens, skeptics, right? So if I'm trying to build up, so if I have been involved in the church, well, what's the difference between a priest and a lay person?
We studied more.
Yes. So after 10 years of studying, what level of belief do they have about God? Is it more than most people?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why? Because of the repetition. So if you look at a religion, they read the Bible every day, they pray every day, and they go to a mastermind meeting sometimes once a week, sometimes more often. And they only associate with other like-minded people. So if you have people in your life, like we talked about earlier, who don't believe in you, that's not a good person to hang out with. You want to kind of move them aside a little bit, because they're going to basically kill what Goebbels said is that in order to make the lie work faster, you must take out all the disbelievers and all the skeptics. There was during World War II, there was a saying that sounded like this: in the time of war, the voice of reason is the voice of treason. Does everybody understand that? In time of war, the voice of reason is the voice of treason. Does everybody get that? What does that mean?
LEB, reason means.
Say that again.
LEB, reason means LEB.
Well, if you are the voice of reason in a time of war, what are you suggesting? To continue fighting or not to continue fighting?
No, not continue fighting.
Exactly. So if you're basically giving out reasons why you shouldn't fight, which is typically the case, then you're the voice that has to be silenced. You follow?
Yes.
So that's what that means. So you have to understand. So Andrew Carnegie gave Napoleon Hill an affirmation, a statement. And he asked him, because when Napoleon Hill was tasked with the idea of working the next 20 years to discover and catalog all these success secrets, Napoleon Hill, Andrew Carnegie told him, I'm not going to pay you. I'll give you letters of introduction, but you're going to have to go out and do this research on your own. And what I'm going to give you is more valuable than any money I could ever give you. Because once you discover these secrets and apply them in your own life, you'll make for yourself a fortune. Did Mr. Hill create a fortune?
Yes.
How many?
I think it was 3, wasn't it?
Three fortunes. Does anybody know what the 3 fortunes were? So he
The
publishes
smallest one was the actual first book, Think and
first
Grow
book
Rich.
that he published in 1927, which was Law of Success. That was a bestseller. Unfortunately, a few years later, what happened in 1929?
Great Depression, stock market crash.
Yep. People couldn't afford to buy a book, never mind pay for food. So that fortune went away. Then in 1937, what did he publish? Just have to look on the screen and you'll be able to
Think
see.
and Grow Rich.
That's right. And what he did is that book was edited by his brand new wife of 6 months. And his attorney recommended that he put the rights to the book in her name. And after 2 years of marriage, she left him with the attorney that had suggested.
Are you going to eat dinner?
The attorney that had suggested that he put the rights in her name, and she left Mr. Hill and went with that attorney. So what do you think happened with all the royalties? He got very little of it. So how did he survive from 1937 forward? Well, it still has his name on the book. So he was able to do training sessions,
lectures and stuff.
seminars and lectures. Exactly. That's how he did it. In 1952, Mr. Hill retired. He was 63 years old. And at that point, he meets W. Clement Stone. And W. Clement Stone in 1939 had read Think and Grow Rich, and he decided to apply it. And his business began doing incredible things. In 1939, he set a goal that he would own the largest accident and disability company in the world, and that he would have a personal net worth of $10 million by 1956. He did this in 39. He meets Hill in 52, and he convinces Hill to come out of retirement and to help him bring Think and Grow Rich back to the world and to help him with his sales organization. And that's what Hill does. So Hill helps him with, and they produced the 1960 version of Think and Grow Rich, which now the copyright had expired, so he could reissue the book and receive the royalties. And within 10 years, Mr. Hill's net worth exceeded $60 million. So he hit the 10 million. And Mr. Hill was convinced by W. Clement Stone to buy stock in Mr. Stone's company. And he created his third fortune. And then he finally retired in 1972, I think it was 1972 or 73. And at that point, he was like 72, 73 years old. And he lived, I think, until 1990, a few years later. Maybe I'm wrong on that date. I'm not too certain.
I know he lived to like 100 years old.
The statement, the formula that Mr. Hill was given by Carnegie is, Andrew Carnegie, I'm not only going to equal your achievements in life, but I'm going to challenge you at the post and pass you at the grandstand. So he said, when Hill gave him this, he said, now, Mr. Carnegie, I'm sorry, when Carnegie gave Mr. Hill this, he said, Mr. Carnegie, now you know full well that I'm never going to exceed your accomplishments in life. And Mr. Carnegie turned to him and he says, as long as you believe that, you are right. But he said, do me a favor, read it every day, twice a day. And so Mr. Hill went back to his room after he left Carnegie, and he dared not tell his brother about it because he thought he'd laugh at him. But he did keep his word to Mr. Carnegie, and he did read that statement twice a day, every day. And in 30 days, he began to believe that he possibly could do that. Now, at the end, Mr. Hill says that while in personal net worth, he never exceeded Mr. Carnegie's achievements, right? Financially. But did Think and Grow Rich create more millionaires and billionaires than what Carnegie did? Yes.
Yes.
In the 1950s, Mr. Hill was known as the millionaire maker. And that I showed you with some current examples of Damon John, Art Williams, Hubert Humphrey. There's many others, Mr. Cathay from, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Bruce Willis, Sylvester Stallone. They all credit Think and Grow Rich. Not George Foreman, Frazier, the boxer who knocked out Ali, said that it was because of Think and Grow Rich. Carol Burnett, Liberace, Michael Jackson, all read Think and Grow Rich and applied it. And that's all documented. And there's tons and tons of people that use these principles. The difference was that they actually took what they found in the chapter on desire and they wrote it out. So the ball's in your court. And I wanted to go through the introduction in a different way because I want you to be aware, because part of the process in this group is that I want you to set a goal and I want you to write out a statement. So what I did is I have a statement, and my statement sounds like this. I'll do a short version of it, but it's totally different from what Napoleon Hill wrote down because it's in present day language. It's not in future tense. When Bruce Lee wrote down his statement, he said, I will be the first. So will denotes what? Future tense, right? So I don't use future tense. So my statement says, it is my birthday, February 20th, 2023, and I, Bert Hernandez, I'm so happy and grateful now that I am earning $100,000 a month consistently each and every month from my real estate investments, online businesses, mastermind coaching, and insurance agency. I easily and effortlessly accomplish my daily tasks by creating an imperative report list daily, 30 appointments weekly, 15 presentations, and 5 new clients per week, thus ensuring my success. I am a disciplined, organized, scheduled, responsible, punctual, single-minded, and laser-focused leader that gets things done on time or before. I am a lean, mean, muscular, 175-pound man that exercises 5 times per week without fail. And it goes on, but that's the essential part of the statement. The statement that we have come up with, which we've been using since 2012, basically addresses a couple of areas. It addresses your wealth, your health, and your relationships. And then we add in there a couple of toys because there's no fun in working 6 days a week if you're not going to reward yourself with some, maybe a new car. So mine says, I love driving my new Mercedes-Benz SL 550 convertible, white with a beige interior, down the sun-drenched, palm tree-laden roads of Florida. I love living at the beach with an oceanside view of a 3-bedroom, 2-bath condominium that I invite my boys over to vacation with me once a year or more often when I can. I love taking out the boys in my new Sea Ray 360 Sundancer down the coast of the Gulf Coast and key ports in the Key West and other ports of call. So this is all part of my statement that I repeat over and over again. And through repetition, you begin to believe it. And then what happens after you believe it? Anybody know?
You achieve it.
That's when you achieve it. Exactly. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to, oops, damn, that was quick. All right, so let's go back here. Okay. So what I did is I put together an opportunity for you guys to get a hold of the statement and so you're going to receive what you would receive at this link is a template that will be emailed to you, which basically is the template. You're also going to receive access to a video that discusses what is your personality type, so we can determine who you need to become. And then we also have a video on how to create the statement. And then you also get the opportunity to send me your statement on a Google Docs format, and I'll review it and make sure that it's written in the right format and that you have the right goal. In addition to that, you'll also receive a copy of Earl Nightingale's Think and Grow Rich, as well as a copy of the Think and Grow Rich book that I like the best, which I have it available in PDF format. And I might throw in some other couple of goodies. Basically, it's $39. What you're getting is the template, a video showing you how to do it, a video showing you how to determine your personality type, taking a test. And then you have me, it'll take me about a half hour or so to review your statement and send it back to you with the corrections that it needs to be. This will also help support this call, because this call will be every Wednesday, except I don't know about next week. I think Wednesday, what does Wednesday fall on next week? On the 28th. All right, so we can do a call next week. Yeah, that's fine. So we'll have a call on the 28th. And at that point, we're going to go over the statement more in detail. And we'll kind of make it a hot seat. So anybody who wants to get their, ideas out or work on what their specific goal is, will have that opportunity during that call. And then we'll resume with talking about the chapter on faith and also the chapter on auto suggestion. We'll combine those two. So the link is there. It's you don't have to you can just type in bit.ly, bit.ly/purpose statement. Doesn't have to be in all caps. It can be lowercase. And it's $39. You'll get a copy of the statement. You'll get the audio. You'll get the me reviewing it, and you'll also get a copy of Think and Grow Rich, the audio on Think and Grow Rich, and some other goodies that I'll throw in to help you get started. I'll also include a plan of action form, a goal setting statement, so we can help you create a plan for whatever goal you want to achieve. That's basically it. Any questions that anybody has? We did go over time a little bit. Any questions? I'm going to put that link in the chat group so that you can just go ahead and click on that if you'd like. And any questions, anybody? We covered quite a bit of material. Everybody's good? All right then. Well, I look forward to seeing you next week and helping get your statement together and helping you reach those goals. And then we'll talk about more of how to do your statement, because there is an actual science to how to get these things to manifest. And
Hallelujah.
all right. So whatever it is you want, think about it. And I'll talk to you then. You guys have a great night now.
Good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a good
Have
night.
a good night. Good to see you again.
My pleasure. Bye-bye.